Hey everyone, this is Annie of wholeassistant.com, and I'm super excited to be coming to you live today. I'm doing something a little different. I know I haven't been live in this group very much or on YouTube at all so far, but I am really excited to be joined by Elizabeth Gaines, a functional medicine practitioner, right? Did I say it right?
Functional practitioner. Yeah.
Yeah, functional practitioner. I just can't seem to get it right, guys. Sorry, Elizabeth. And today we're talking all about stress and today's assistant. But before we get started with that, Elizabeth, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone your unique story? I found it really interesting, and I'm sure everyone else will too.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone at Whole Assistant. Thank you for letting me engage with your beautiful community today. I'm so honored to be here with you guys. So Annie and I connected, and I am a functional practitioner now, but I got my start as an executive assistant. So I was working in New York City for two pretty high-powered women. One was a founder of her own boutique headhunting firm, and the other was a founder of a really powerful nonprofit that serves girls who were victims of domestic minor sex trafficking. So I was kind of up in the mix with these two ladies, and all of the stress of running those organizations and all of the stress of having to anticipate somebody who's running these organizations. And I burned out. I burned out spectacularly being an executive assistant. So I actually burned out so much I had to leave New York. So I left executive assisting and I left New York, and I moved to Texas, and kind of had more room to breathe and, access to the sun, and started to unwind a little bit from like the daily tension of being in the office, but realized I had all of these lingering symptoms of burnout. So I actually went into chronic fatigue. I was like depressed. I was lacking all motivation. I just thought, like, what am I doing with my life? I'm a failure. I can hardly get out of bed in the morning. And every doctor I went to was like, yep, you're depressed. Like, you need some antidepressants. And then the chronic fatigue symptoms really set in, where I actually couldn't get out of bed for more than a couple of hours every day. And I was working from home at that time, thankfully. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have done it. But I wasn't digesting any food. I was waking up more tired than when I went to sleep. It was like sleep just did nothing. Exercise was a fantasy. I couldn't even think about that anymore. And so finally I went to doctor after doctor after doctor who was like, physically, you're fine. This is in your head. All of your tests are normal. You just need to take more antidepressants. Like, you're just depressed. Everything is normal. And I didn't have the knowledge to advocate for myself at that point. I didn't have anything to sort of say, to point to say, no, this is physical. Like, keep looking, keep looking. But finally, I turned to the functional world because they have a different perspective on testing and a different perspective on what equals health. And so finally, I was able to kind of get to the root causes of the chronic fatigue. And I found that method so powerful after I was able to sort of heal myself that I got certified to be a functional practitioner. So I can now run these tests, and I can now look at the deficits that people have in their foundational systems and help guide them naturally back to being in balance.
I love this so much because most of the time we think of stress as like this mental state of being, and it definitely takes a toll on your psychological state, but it's also physical. And I love that your story is different than most in that you approached it from hey, no, wait, this is physical. Like, there's a physical component to this, as opposed to just like meditating more or figuring out how to manage your stress psychologically, which is important too. And like, I'm a big advocate for that. But I just love that you had this whole other approach, and like physical body first, and let's test all the systems and look at the body holistically and look at your health holistically. And I found that super fascinating. So can you just share with us, once you found this functional approach and once you found like your practice, can you share what your life is like now on the other side of it, now that you are like looking at all of your systems and have a really good grasp on all the pieces of health? not just the psychological piece of the stress, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do want to reiterate before we get into that part of the story that for a long time I was wandering around in the mindset piece because I thought
Mm.
all the doctors were saying you're normal. I thought, okay, maybe I am depressed. Like maybe I do need to meditate more. Maybe I do need to just like, go to the top of the mountain and become zen. And what's wrong with me that this doesn't work for me? And I had a
Mm.
lot of shame and blame going on inside and thinking I was broken and thinking like, okay, maybe I am just, uh, a depressed person, and this is going to be my life from now on.
Mm.
Um, but I want to say for everybody who's out there struggling with that mindset piece, if you've got those daily headaches, if you're feeling that fatigue, it's physical. Physical is a big component of it. And I found that doing it the wrong way around, like fixing the mindset and then fixing the body, I could have done it imminently quicker had I started with the body first. Like when we feel better, it's so much easier to make those mindset shifts. So I just want to put that out there. Yes, we all sort of go around in this whole, like, we need to meditate more because we do. We do. But when we've been under chronic stress for a really long time, there are very specific deficits that start to show up in the body. And at a certain point, it doesn't have the vital reserve to bring itself back into balance. And so no matter how much meditating you do, no matter how many antidepressants you take, it's not going to get better until we address those deficits.
That is really like a profound thought to me. And actually, like I know, like my mom and my sister and we talk about this quite a bit, like our bodies and how can we take better care of them. And so I was really excited when like you reached out to me and we got to connect. I'm like, OMG, I need to bring you on. You need to tell everybody what you know, because so often like it has to be so discouraging to hear like, oh, work on your mindset. Oh, just do more meditating, or, oh, whatever, when there are physical components to it. And if you can support the body in a great way, then the mind is supported in a great way to do the work it needs to do to get on top of all of those things. Like it's a whole thing. It's not just one or the other. It's the whole piece. It's a whole package.
Absolutely.
And so
banging your head against the wall with trying to shift your mindset, and there's like just that one piece of it you can't get your head around, go to the body. Go to the body first.
yeah.
The problem is not in the head. It's in the body, I promise.
So can you tell me where you start with people? So like say someone wanted your help, like how would they start with you? What would that look like? Can you just share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So most people who come to me have started with the doctor and have gone to the doctor with the standard vague symptoms. Like I have a headache, I'm tired, I don't have the energy that I used to have, I can't focus as well as I used to. Like if I'm sitting at my desk working and I get a phone call, and it takes me, 10, 15 minutes to figure out where I was again and get back into the flow. And so the doctor is going to do a lot of tests. And what the doctor is looking for is a very distinct marker that tells him or her that you have crossed into from a healthy state into a diseased state. And once you've crossed into a disease state, then the doctor knows how to fix that. That's what the doctor is there for. Crisis intervention. Like these really sort of big catastrophic things that get labeled disease, that's what the doctor knows how to do. But when we are exhibiting these signs of fatigue and headaches and that sort of thing, they're often what is called subclinical, meaning the body is on its way to disease, but it's not there yet. And so that's why the doctor, what he's really saying when he says you're normal, is he's saying you're not ready for me yet. Like I can't do anything for you yet.
Oh, yeah. And so then what do you do, right? Like, where do you look? Where do you go? Most people don't even know about people like you who are like, no, we can actually prevent medicine.
So
like,
that's when people kind of come to me and they say, I don't know what to do. Like, I know there's something wrong, but I'm being told everywhere it's normal and all my tests are normal. And so what the functional world does, which is different from the medical world, is we don't look to see whether or not you've crossed from healthy into clinical. We look to see how much stress your body is under trying to keep itself from crossing into disease.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So that's how our tests differ. And so I think also people are really used to dealing with this, going to the doctor and saying, like, I have this symptom, and this symptom. And then the doctor saying, okay, well, you need like this drug and this drug and this drug to mitigate these symptoms. But for me, my philosophy is that symptoms are an extremely poor diagnostic tool. They are worthless as a diagnostic tool, in fact. And so while I really care about your symptoms, I'm going to do the same tests on everybody, the same basic 3 tests, so that we can look at your foundational systems. And we can get a really, really good look at your health from a perspective of all of those systems and how they are working or not working. And then when we see the deficits in your foundational systems, those are healing opportunities for us. So then we can come in and bolster up where those deficits are, bringing that body back into health. And guess what? Like for 4 million years, your body's been working on figuring out how to heal itself, right? So it has all of this beautiful innate intelligence that all it needs is the resources, and then it knows how to bring itself back into balance.
I love that so much. So what would you say, I mean, all of us EAs, we all know, and assistants and administrative professionals, we all know what it's like to be under stress. Like we're bumping up against deadlines. We're constantly putting out fires. We're juggling a million different things on any given day. I know for me, like I have a baby on top of being an EA, and so there's just a lot going on in my life. What would you tell to someone who isn't exhibiting like any particular symptom or anything? They just feel drained. Like, can you give some like a piece of advice or a word of wisdom for those of us who need to be taking better care of ourselves to kind of prevent the onset of, the chronic fatigue and the chronic issues that you faced?
Absolutely. So there's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I just want to take one thing at a time. And the first thing is, like, let me say to all of the executive assistants, I get you. I understand how damn hard your job is. Like, it is insanely hard. And I think that the reason it's so hard, right? And the reason that nobody who's not an EA gets this is that most people have stress around a particular work product, but that work product has very clear benchmarks about what is success and what is failure. But as an EA, we're not anticipating a work product. We're anticipating a person. And people are changeable. They are changeable minute to minute. They are changeable second to second. Their priorities shift. Sometimes it's emotionally driven. Sometimes it's logically driven. Sometimes it's based on information. Sometimes it's based on nothing at all. And we're sitting 10 feet away, usually separated from that person by a wall. We don't know what just happened, right? We're not sort of up in that mix, but they're going to change in an instant, and we have to be able to anticipate how things are going to affect them. That is a very particular brand of stress that nobody who isn't an EA can quite understand. It's like having to be a mind reader for someone you're not dating, for someone you've never seen naked, for someone you're not living with, where it's like, oh, how are you going to react and what are your preferences going to be? It's a madhouse. So I want to tell you guys, like, I really get it. So the way that that's going to kind of show up in your body is when you start to feel drained, when you start to feel that fatigue. What's happening is that the energetic potential of your body is being lowered, and it's being lowered by chronic exposure to our cortisol, which is the hormone that like keeps us awake and keeps us focused and keeps us going. It is our primary stress hormone. We need it. Like, we don't want to live a life without cortisol, but we don't want to live a life where we never have a break from cortisol. And I know that when I was an EA, I was on duty all the time. It didn't stop when I left the office. One of my bosses traveled a lot, so I had to be on call for every time she missed a flight, every time something was delayed, every time she was going to miss a connection, every time like the hotel didn't work out, like all of it. You're on call all the time. And so even when you wake up in the middle of the night and you see that like I'm dating myself here, but when you see that light flashing on the BlackBerry that you have like new email, your cortisol goes up at 2 a.m., right? You know? So that's not how we are meant to live. We are meant to live with short periods of acute stress, like, oh, that lion is chasing me. Like, let me escape from the lion, and then I can just chill. But not us, right? We're being chased by the lion all the time, especially the executive assistants. You know, we are being chased by the lion all the time. So as that cortisol is maxing us out, we actually lose the energetic potential that we have within our bodies. And that's when we start to feel drained. And that's when we start to get headaches all the time. And then this shows up in a lot of ways. So it's going to really mess with your mineral balance, which are responsible for basically all 8,000 of your metabolic processes. Mm. Once the minerals get unbalanced, everything kind of starts to get faulty and weird messaging. That's going to mess with your hormones. That's going to mess with your gut. And then when we're eating a standard American diet, which makes us inflamed anyway, then that's going to start messing with the immune system, where too many resources are being siphoned off to deal with stress. And now the immune system is like so busy, it can't get tagged in when something like cancer starts to grow. Now it's on the field and it missed the play, right? So what we really want to do is keep the immune system on the bench for as long as we possibly can until it gets tagged in for something like cancer.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, and I kind of reading the subtext as you were talking, and I'm hearing you say, like, we need to rest more. We need to actually set clear boundaries. Like we need to be taking better care of ourselves, essentially, like our physical bodies.
Yeah.
And really be like cognizant and aware of the fact that if we don't, we're looking at some really severe long-term issues like cancer, because our cortisol levels will be higher for long amounts of time. And you're absolutely right. We are constantly barraged with tasks and requests, and you're never sure what's going to come next. Like, yeah. Even like, I mean, you and I were talking the other day, and I told you that I had a productivity course, and that like I talk specifically to assistants, because most other people in every other job get to work off of their own priorities. We don't.
Exactly.
Like, we get to work off of our executives' priorities, and they are shifting. And
yes.
Yeah. So I'm loving everything you're talking about here, and it's super relevant for my audience. Can you tell people a little bit about like where they can go to find you? I know I've got your website listed right here, guys. The name of her brand, I'm just gonna flash it up here real fast because it's fun, and I've got this new toy, so I'm gonna play with it a little bit. Is the Breakthrough Burnouts.
Breakthrough Burnout, yes. So yeah. I like to offer a basic package of labs which are sent to your home, and you do all the collection in your home, and then you mail the samples off to the lab, and then I get all the reports. And as I see the reports coming in, I evaluate your 5 foundational systems, which are your hormones, your immune system, your digestion, your detoxification, and your energy production. And so I evaluate all those 5 systems given the data that comes from the lab. And then I design very specific protocols and lifestyle recommendations for you, completely personal, for what we see in the lab data, to help bring you back into balance and bolster up those foundational systems so they're doing the work they need to do to keep you healthy. I think this is particularly relevant now because as we are about to open the world again, and as we are about to be back in offices next to each other again, and with COVID-19 still being a presence, it's very likely, it is a statistical likelihood that we will run into this virus. And so the only lever that we have to pull that determines if we get sick, and if we do get sick, how sick we get, is how healthy we are in our foundational systems.
100%. I could not agree more. And I love your approach too, because it actually looks at the whole body and not just symptoms. And like I think I think what's really interesting about this time in our history and this time, especially as an EA, is that we're largely commissioned to take care of our office too, and to make sure that everyone in our office is okay and well. And we've got the hand sanitizer, we've got all the things to kind of prevent the disease from happening.
Yeah,
And so, but we need to be mindful to take care of ourselves too. And
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and I would encourage you guys, like, if you were at all interested, if you even like, if you just accepted that fatigue is a way of being, and that feeling drained or like sluggish is a way of being, I would strongly, strongly urge you to reach out to Elizabeth, because she's right on when she says that we need to really take care of our bodies, and she has the training and she has the knowledge to actually figure out a plan that it will be specific, and geared just towards you. And what's really great about this is I was actually talking to her because I just had a baby like 5.5 months ago. You all know this, but I was telling her some of the things that my body has gone through just in the transition. Like, OMG, this is so awesome. It's so relevant to us as humans, but then as assistants as well. So
yeah, and there's a lot there too that I want to kind of slow down and articulate. So yes, if you're feeling drained and fatigued, absolutely, I offer a free consultation call, and you can go to my website, which is listed right there, and book the free call, or you can go to btbcall.com, and that will go right to the scheduling link. So either way, go ahead and book a free consultation with me, and we can definitely talk about what's going on with you. But I think it's really important that we recognize that as humans, we're incredibly adaptable, right? So if I have felt drained and fatigued for 3 or 4 years, I am not, my subconscious is not going to allow me to remember when I felt better, right? So like the new baseline becomes the normal. So this is where we want to get really, really in touch with ourselves. And we really want to listen to what our body is telling us and say, is this my normal? Or is this just what I've accepted as normal?
so good.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah, because the fatigue and losing energy and having headaches every day, we're frequently told this is just a natural part of aging. Like this is just the deal, right? But it's not. It's not the deal, and the deal doesn't have to be that. And so I want to see you live vibrant and healthy, as is your birthright, and I want to help you get there.
Sweet. I just love that so much. Well, great. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Elizabeth. I'm so thrilled. When she reached out to me, like, her ask was completely different. I'm like, no, we're going to do a live. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait to introduce you to my audience. I cannot wait to champion you, because the work you're doing is incredible. Guys, please reach out to Elizabeth and schedule your free consultation. I'm in awe of her, and I'm super thrilled to be supporting her and to like do this collab, a little talk with her today. So please, please, please reach out to her. And if this intrigues you, if this piques your interest, and schedule a free consult. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It is been a pleasure.
Of course, it has been my pleasure, and I really appreciate you having me in your community and allowing me to engage with everybody. And it's been really great. Thank you so much, Annie.
Sure. Okay, guys, we'll talk with you later. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
Goodbye.